Yeah, there you go. Let's start, everyone. It's 4 p.m. now, so let's all get this started. Welcome, everyone, to Riftwalk, the first ever League of Legends PH Discord podcast. And it's been a tough couple of days since the New Year's. I'm Dash, and with me is esports lead Midnight, and we're gonna be your host for today. Midnight, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. The weather is a bit tough for
Gloomy, right?
everyone. Yeah, but all in favor. The show must go on. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's kick us off.
Yeah, let's start this. So everyone, may disclaimer lang kami before we start with this podcast. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are our own opinions, huh? Before we introduce our guests, we would like to introduce first or give light on how we started the podcast. So, Riftwalk, why is it Riftwalk? Everything, and how did the idea of the podcast start? Give us light to that, Midnight.
So the idea of a podcast to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
was sort of like a light bulb idea that I had when
Oh,
Discord first implemented stage channels. I
yeah,
thought that maybe we could utilize this to bring forth more engagement within the community.
right.
And so I immediately pitched to Laquatus that, hey, maybe we could start a podcast eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, that didn't materialize earlier on. This is an idea from way back.
Mm-hmm.
But since we've expanded our moderation team and we've had enough people running around and helping us do our events, we've finally been able to launch the podcast for this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much how it all started.
Yeah, and feel ko naman whenever the podcast idea starts, no, it takes a long time before it comes into materialize siya, no? Kasi most of the time when you think about the podcast, you think about the topics, you think about everything that you can think of
Yeah.
before you go on it. Kasi most of the time, when you think about it, podcast starts because friends talk about it. Friends talk during 2 a.m. Meron sila mga idea na,
Right.
huy, ganito, ganito. Nag-uusap sila din. Why don't we make a podcast? Di ba? That's how it usually starts. And
Exactly.
yeah, like it's no different here than here, di ba? It's like you had an idea, like we talk about things naman. So why don't we do a podcast? So here it is, everyone.
Yeah.
Here's what Midnight thought about. So yun. So let's move on to why Riftwalk. Bakit siya Riftwalk? I know Riftwalk is ultimate ni Kassadin, right? It's the
Right.
ultimate of Kassadin. So how did it start with Riftwalk? Kasi, hmm, it's kind of something with me kung when I think about Riftwalk, it's something like a walkthrough. Yun yung naiisip ko every time I think about the Riftwalk. It's like Kassadin just going into the fight, right? That's always how it goes. Pero
Yeah.
here it's like it's a walkthrough on somewhere. It's a walk through the void. Yun naisip ko.
Yeah.
So what made you think about Riftwalk as a name?
I mean, it's pretty much the same idea, like you said, and the reason why we even mainly use Cassidon as our main sort of theme for the Riftwalk posters is
Yeah.
because like what you said, it's like a walkthrough for people,
Mm.
for everyone in general in the community, for us to walk around the Rift as we speak, because this is a
Yeah.
League of Legends focused podcast, so we're gonna take you through pretty much everywhere. You can Rift walk and blink towards
Yeah.
anything really that we decide on talking about. But obviously, our focus for today is to talk about the story behind the LoL PH Discord, which we'll eventually get to later on.
Yeah. And yeah, while we're talking about the walkthrough and all about the Rift Walk, yung sinabi nga natin why it came to Rift Walk, I think the question comes into place then. What is the purpose of the podcast? Ano yung gagawin natin dito sa podcast? Bakit natin siya ginawa? Um, I think I can answer this rin in a way na
Oh,
this podcast is for everyone to get especially some thoughts. For me, I think this is to humanize everyone on the Discord server, whoever is managing the Discord server. If ever makapag-invite kami ng mga pro players that we had or since the EDS, yung mga nananalo for the championships, we can humanize them. We can let's see on how they did their part, their training, on how everything went through. Even maybe even their managers masama natin dito sa sa podcast natin, ma-invite natin sila para at least we can think about how they think about the game, right? We're all focused on League of Legends here. So that's what we want to do. And also maybe you guys can get updates on EDS, what our thoughts are about the games, um, what our thoughts are about the patches and all. So it's a lot of things that is League of Legends na we don't usually see a lot, right, Midnight?
Right. And yeah, you pretty much nailed the coffin there and the purpose here that
Yeah.
we mainly just want to talk about, anything really under League of Legends. It could be focusing on our community events or stuff regarding our community, regarding our Discord, or we could even go like within the game or any international events that is happening. We could cover anything for as long as it's about League of Legends, and that's what we're all passionate about, really. When we joined this Discord, it's because we want to find like-minded people and hear like
Mm-hmm.
like-minded thoughts. You know, going so that we can share that in our podcast. We can discuss about it even like after the podcast. We did make channels for us to connect with the community as well.
Yeah.
And later on, we even have community questions from you guys. So this
Yeah.
is yeah, this is how it's going to work for the podcast.
Yeah, and I'm having fun. I'm having fun sa simula pa lang ng podcast natin, and I hope we have more of it later on.
Right.
No? So that's it for. I think we nailed everything. No, kung how this came to be, what's the purpose of the podcast, everything that we had to say about Riftwalk. So now, dahil tapos na tayo dun sa idea of the Riftwalk, it's a good thing no, on Midnight. It's normally kasi when we have the podcast, it's like there's a lot of tangents na nangyayari. But it's a good thing
Right.
na dahil we have Riftwalk pa lang as our topic, we don't have a lot of tangents. Pa. Siguro maybe later on we'll have a lot of
Yeah.
it. But now let's invite our guests to go in, or rather to get up in stage with us. The GM Laquatus, if he is here, yeah, I think he's here to get onto the stage. Our community manager for the League of Legends PH Discord. He has been here with us since the start of the League of Legends PH Discord. And I hope you guys, I think everyone knows GM Laquatis right now, everyone who is here. But still, we'll introduce him to you if he gets up in stage.
Yeah. So there you go. He's here now.
Yo,
And
there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Yay. Yay.
Welcome to the stage.
Nga, buti nga napigilan ko yung pero anyways.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just because you're here, once again, you're the community manager of LOL PH.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
can you give us, apart from that, a brief introduction of yourself, kung ano yung role mo inside of the Discord, para mas maging aware naman kami lahat dito.
Mm-hmm.
Um Basically ako nga yung yung community manager. So ako yung anything na nag-involve sa League of Legends PH like yung mga events or yung mga kung ano mang any basta anything sa community like yun nga paggawa ng Discord then paggawa ng mga pages na pwede ma-involve mga community ang mga players natin dito sa PH eh. So yeah, ganun. Then other stuff yung mga minsan ako din yung nag-a-approve sa mga gusto ng sponsorships ganun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay, okay. So, brief question from me, and but before we go into that, so dahil nga, that is the role of GM Laquatus here. I hope everyone has an idea na if someone doesn't know on what GM Laquatus does on the League of Legends page Discord. Pero my question is, kasi I think Midnight and Laquatus has been here since forever, no? So has been here since forever since League of Legends page Discord started. So kayo yung nag-start ng League of Legends PH Discord. So I got
Right.
a brief of the history of it. So can you tell us the story of how this started? So kahit sino sa inyong dalawa, whoever wants to start.
Hmm, Kasi well, before pa naman din talaga kasi ginamit lang talaga namin dati 'tong Discord na platform is para lang for better communication namin sa mga games namin. Kasi 'di ba, before parang umaasa kami sa dun sa voice chat nung Garena client.
In G-Talk.
So, then oo, yung Gtalk.
Yeah.
Then yun nga nung na-introduce sa akin yung Discord, sabi mas ano daw 'to, mas accessible daw 'to, tsaka madali lang gamitin. So, sabi ko, "Sige, gamitin natin. Ito talaga gamitin natin platform." Kasi nga, 'di ba, ano lang, in terms of resources naman, 'di ba, magaan lang naman din siya. So,
Right.
sabi ko, "Sige." Tapos nung tumagal, then sila, yung mga friends din namin, nakikita naman namin yung mga servers nila, like ini-improve nila, yung dinadagdagan ng kung ano-ano. Tapos nakita namin parang ano, hindi lang siya voice chat kasi 'di ba yung Discord, eh. So, tsaka nakikita ko rin yung ibang yung sa newsfeed ko, like pinapakita nila, "Uy, sali kayo sa Discord namin." Sabi ko, "Bakit kaya hindi kaya ako gumawa din ng Discord for for LoL?" Although
Yep.
sabi ko, ang naging problema ko lang din dun kaya hindi ko kaagad nagawa yung step na yon, kasi nga hindi ko naman wala akong masyadong alam sa pag-setup ng server. So, kinausap ko muna yung mga current na moderators, which is si Ayora do'n. Sabi ko, "Sige, okey naman din siya." Then nabanggit ko kay Midnight yung tungkol do'n. Ta's sabi niya, nagulat siya, parang tama 'di ba? Parang nagulat ka na magkakaroon
Yeah,
ng
yeah.
LOL Discord, eh. So,
Because
ayun,
we were from the forums
oo.
initially.
So yun, ta's yun nag-ano siya, sabi niya sige, willing daw siya mag-help, then ayan, diyan na.
Back to the topic a while ago dahil we had our history na, is there a chance that we're gonna be having, again, pag ano na, pag stable na lahat, pag na wala na yung COVID and all, and we're not in the pandemic anymore, will we have a chance to have, for example, an on-site event? Like, if not an on-site event, or maybe an tournament like what GPL was a while ago, like the pro scene. Is that in the plans na ba? Dahil we're slowly getting there, right?
Kasi ano na yun, eh, kasama talaga yun sa plano ko since 2018 actually. Ang problema lang kasi is, yun nga, like yung nabanggit nga ni Midnight kanina, is resources. Yun yung pinaka-importante kasi hindi lang sa manpower, pero sa ano rin, sa budget din. Kasi hindi kasi madali ang mag-pull off ng isang ganong klaseng event. So, pero syempre hindi ko naman sinasabing sarado na yung doors regarding sa usapan na 'to, pero tinitingnan ko pa rin kasi up to now kung paano siya mapu-pull off. Pero yun nga, since napaka-ano natin ngayon, restricted ang ating movements ngayon dahil sa pandemic pa rin tayo. Pero yeah, hanggang ngayon naman, pinag-iisipan pa rin namin sa kung paano ipo-pull off yung gano'n.
Right. I think that's a common thing that we talk about, me and Laquatus, for like every time we get a chance,
Mm-hmm.
because we do care. I think a lot of people who might want to complain as much as they want to, when they think that we're not doing anything necessarily, or we just don't care about bringing up bigger events anymore. I think that's the part where they fail to see from the outside, and hopefully that should give light to, at least for the rest of the audience here that are listening right now.
Yeah.
Kasi yun nga 'di ba, pero ano rin, tsaka naniniwala din kami kasi ni Midnight na marami pa diyang players na maybe on par or baka nga mas kayang talunin ang the likes of Liab, 'di ba? So,
Right.
kaya talaga kahit ako gustong-gusto ko talaga, bakit hindi, 'di ba? Yun nga lang, restrictions namin. Yeah.
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 Pero yun nga, hindi pa sarado yung usapan na 'to. Hindi 'to magsasara.
Yep.
Yeah, we can still have those opportunities nga in the future, no? Kasi I can see it na we're still pushing for it. Pero right now, dahil nga from what we've seen so far, I'm really excited dahil even now, looking at how many of our guests are here, I was not expecting it to be this much, but yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really
same
happy
here.
that the community is still active and ready for whatever is going to come. And if ever everyone, this podcast naman is a very chill podcast naman. So if ever na you wanted to be listening on it everywhere, it's meant to be a very, very chill podcast talaga. And what questions do I have still? Kasi nag-iisip pa ako ng questions ko for for the
If
history.
I may, I would
Okay.
also
Yeah.
add on, like, stuff that's happened so far, and just I want to share it for everyone who's listening right now. Is
Okay.
for me, I personally am proud of like the how the Discord and the community evolved in general. Because you remember how we started Dash. Like we started in fact,
Yeah.
like I keep saying this to everyone who joins in as part of our talents, right? In
Yeah.
EDS.
Yeah.
Na initially we didn't even plan. No, we didn't plan na magkaroon ng stream or to have casters or anything because
Yeah.
we literally just wanted to put out an event
Oh
and
no.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, but eventually, right? Eventually, it was like a happy accident or something that
Mhm.
when I saw or when we saw rather the potential that this could make when we have actual legitimate casters, a good
Mhm.
production value, and eventually players also got better, right? From the uh we got some more orgs or like amateur teams joining in our tournaments for the Elder Dragon series, and eventually it got way better than how it started. And as you can see, the competition right now is very cutthroat. If you've attended or participated Elder Dragon series before, it's getting harder to get past the first few rounds, unlike before.
Natanda mo
So
yung ano, dati midnight yung
yeah,
sabi ko pa nga 'di ba, sabi ko nung nagpaplano tayo nung sa tournament yung ila-live natin. Ang plano ko pa nga dati nun is yung stream lang siya, then yun na yun. Manood na
all
lang
right.
yung yung audience. So sabi
Oo
ni
nga.
Midnight sa akin, "Hindi puwede yun, dapat may ano, may ganito, may ganyan." So, "Di ako marunong nun, eh." Sabi ko.
Yeah, I remember yung initial suggestion was like it literally we're just gonna spectate the game and then we're gonna stream it. Tapos syempre in my head I'm watching yung pro scene before and I'm watching yung college scene before and everything. I watch like pro play internationally. I'm like um maybe we should try upping the standards a bit. Try lang naman eh. Wala namang mawawala eh. Cause like we were streaming at like if you guys don't know yet, yung LoL PH Summoners Hub, which doesn't really have the biggest audience especially at that time. So I'm like, if meron man makakita of like how let's say innovative of some production value that we might produce out there with live editing pa nga minsan. Eh whatever. At least we tried to make it look good. Doesn't have to look good right away. But yeah, eventually we upped our production value from the initial few months and ayun, I'm glad it's not a spectate screen. Oh my god. It would have been something else.
Yeah, and what I like about the EDS prod talaga, to be honest, was it upgrades every time. Like at some point talaga nung on the start of the EDS prod, it was very very nice. Like when you were saying it, yung unang plan niya was the spectator screen. And when I first came in, when I first came into cast, what I saw was, no, this is not something that they just thought of. This is something that they prepared for the longest time dahil yun yung naisip
Uh-huh.
ko dahil it was good. The overlays was good. The fraud was so good. Like, what is this? Tapos ngayon, when I think about it, as sabi nga na, spectator screen lang siya dapat. Oh, okay. So that's how it went pala. Okay.
Yeah.
Surprising, surprising.
I
Pero, yeah.
yeah.
What is
It
it?
would be it
Go
would
ahead.
be cool to think that way that oh we planned this all along and blah 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 and we're just masterminds of genius event handlers everywhere. But
Kasi nung
honestly,
ano, kasi
yeah.
nga 'di ba nung start kasi dalawa lang parang kami nagpaplano nun.
Yep.
Mhm.
Wala pa si ano nun, si Z yung ano natin, yung creative head natin dito sa ano, sa Discord. So, alam mo yun, yung then nung parang sabi kailangan i-step up daw yung ano natin, yung production and everything. Um, ayun bigla na lang naisip nga ni Midnight na ba't hindi na lang natin siya i-invite. So, try lang naman natin then
Yeah.
ayun biglang nahatak na lang din, eh. So, buti na lang
Yeah.
'di ba?
Yeah, and honestly, it looks so good right now. Like Elder
Right.
Dragon series has been more entertaining to watch like visually as well as I guess from the caster's perspective, like even the casting. I feel like is enjoyable to listen to. I remember West Point Esports, was it, who commented on one of our live streams na they're never disappointed with the quality of our casters, which syempre, you gotta have some pride into that. Parang like, yeah, yeah, that's us.
Yeah,
Casters,
yeah,
yeah, parang casters
yeah.
namin yan, sort of thing. Na ganun.
It's like a proud dad moment, ganun ba?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, yeah. Pero yun nga, it was really fun talaga, honestly, when it all came together nung sa EDS. The first thing that I remember when I came in sa EDS back then was there's a Dare to Challenge back then. I think that was the first time that I casted, and I was like surprised that
Yes.
nung time na yun, there's a lot of this people that was, or rather still famous nung time na yun na na-invite for the Dare to Challenge, and I was like surprised na, oh wow, this is really interesting to see. Then I am casting this games that with famous people in it, and yun pa yung time na medyo bata-bata pa. Medyo,
Mm.
I was
Hindi
still
pa
starting.
pandemic.
Yeah, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it was really surprising talaga na at at that time the production value was great na then until now. Like right now on yung last na Elder Dragon Championship was the best one yet na we had kasi we upgrade every time, right? And
Yeah.
again, this year we had a lot of plans na formats na babaguhin. I think overlays rin na babaguhin, so I'm kinda excited on. Can you give us at least a clue on what's gonna happen on the next one?
Uh, I mean, nothing too spectacular, but definitely, because it's a new year, it's gonna feel new for our
Mm-hmm.
viewers. In terms of the broadcast, I think that's what I've been trying to coordinate to our creative department. Ever since actually before the year started,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, as you can see from a competitive standpoint, I have already um formulated as well as you know, I guess announced the competitive changes that will happen for the tournaments that we currently have. This has been
Mm-hmm.
approved by everyone else from the moderation team, and yeah, I mean everything is gonna be new. So I don't know. I'm excited to see it for myself as well.
Tsaka ano eh, tina-target kasi din namin yung mga more on the casual side. So,
Yeah.
expect sa mga maliliit na ano namin, na events
Right.
namin for na casual lang talaga, yung chill lang talaga na hindi mo kailangan maging pro o hindi mo kailangan ng mag-review ng mga tier list or ng mga kung ano mang mga guides. Talagang chill
Yeah.
game
Notes.
lang talaga siya.
Yeah.
So, yun yung magkakaroon kami this year. Starting this
Yeah.
year actually.
Yeah. Kasi syempre, like I said earlier, medyo mas nagiging intense na kasi yung open tournaments namin, which was supposedly for everyone to enjoy.
Right.
Medyo it got
Right.
plagued by the high elo people now. So
Although hindi naman
hindi
siya masamang ano, masamang sign.
it's not a bad thing from a
Oo.
competitive standpoint. Masaya, right?
Oo,
Cause
masaya kasi may
Mm-hmm.
'di ba? Pero minsan hindi na rin masyadong nagiging masaya kung parang ano ka,
yeah.
eh, nadadaanan na lang kayo ng mga 'yon. So,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
cause I mean, I remember my early days when I was still playing the game. And I guess dun pa medyo na-inspire pa ako maging pro, but like in reality, I'm like gold, right? And I attended like my first tournament, and funnily enough, I'm not kidding. Our first tournament pairing for like round one was Mineski.
Oh,
Uh, so
nice.
so yeah, that was a great introduction to how competitive works, I guess, for our team. Um, So yeah, that's what I mean. Like yung if I'm a casual like around gold or I don't know something that isn't necessarily high elo, um, it kind of sucks that you can't win against these teams that are so coordinated. They're so
Yeah.
mechanically versed. Like gusto ko lang naman maglaro eh. I just wanna try and win.
Have fun. Yeah.
Yeah, have fun.
yung may palag naman 'no.
Yeah, hindi masaya yung ano eh, you're getting like they're running it down mid, you can't do anything, the game ends in like 18 minutes. I it's not fun.
Oo.
Like kung ako
Yeah.
yun, like maybe sa bot lane, I'm still farming, tapos na pala yung game. So
Oh
that's
my.
why yung sinabi ni Laquatus na we're gonna try and bring some casual side naman to the board for this year. And hopefully you guys will like that. Kasi I'm also looking forward to see how the community will receive it.
But of course, 'di ba, since ano naman talaga sa simula talaga baka magkaroon tayo ng konting problema. So, i-a-adjust pa rin namin 'to, titingnan na pa rin namin kung paano mas maki-cater yung iba pang mga ano, 'di ba, iba pang players kung sakaling kulangin or
Yeah.
yung gano'n. Mag-e-evolve 'to, mag-e-evolve 'to.
Yep. Gaya
Yeah.
naman nung ibang events namin which have had its own history every single time, especially ako kasi priority ko when it comes to like tournaments. Um, Not necessarily events, pero maybe gano'n na rin. Pero yung focus ko talaga being in my position right now is making each tournament like its best version as possible. So that's
Mhm.
why constantly we always try to look at feedback, even though we're not responding necessarily to the channels. We're always reading whatever you say.
Maniwala kayo, nagbabasa kami
Yeah,
kahit palaging naka-invisible ako diyan, mali yan.
yeah,
Andiyan
e-
diyan pala ako, nagbabasa lang palagi ako, naka-monitor kami dito. Tsaka kahit ano, labas ng, quote and quote office hours,
yep,
bas kapag basta magkasama kami sa voice chat, bigla na lang halimbawa dun na lang magkakaroon na lang kaagad kami ng idea, discuss kaagad, gano'n lang,
yeah.
gano'n kami, mm.
So we never stop trying to like make things better naman when it comes to our events. So yun lang.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm kinda excited dun sa ano 'no, yung mga events na 'to kasi even for me na and right now I don't even play competitively anymore pero the casual part of things is kinda exciting even for me kasi at this point some people really just want to have fun like gusto lang din nilang manalo sa games nga as you said. And I hope na uh, they would be given that chance nga. So yun nga, that's why the things are here na. It's in the plans na. I hope everyone here is excited dun sa plans na to na makikita natin for the coming days. And yun na, what was my question ba? May question ako kanina eh. So ito, I have some questions. So it's been the New Year's, right? It's been the New Year's.
Mhm.
So, syempre, meron tayong New Year's resolutions, right? Do you guys have any New Year's resolutions?
Um, well, are you talking
Except,
about like to us in
yeah,
general or
yeah, to you in
personally?
general, personally.
Uh, ako if it, just for me, I
Mm-hmm.
not really. Ewan ko, hindi ko siya masyadong pinag-isipan this year. I don't know what's different. Maybe it's because as what the younger people say nowadays, it's kind of like 2022. I guess 2020 part 2.
Oh,
Um,
right,
so
2020.
I don't know, it kind of gives me that vibe na parang it's the same thing anyway. Like there's not a whole lot to hope for. Pero I guess for me personally, I for anyone who's following me here, I did get back to content creation for a bit. Um,
Hey.
Not regularly. I think I kind of stream impulsively, but kind of like a selfless ad actually or shameless plug. Um, but yeah, other than that, oh, wala naman. How about you, ano, Lakatos?
Kung personally kasi, target ko talaga is ano ngayon, tawag dito, yung sa health ko. Kasi ewan ko kung alam ata ng lahat or kasi nabanggit ko na rin 'to minsan dito sa Discord na last September kasi nagkaroon ako ng ano, nagka-COVID ako. It's not just COVID, it's severe COVID. Talagang
Mm-hmm.
na-hospitalized ako for 10 days nun. Tas dun parang na-realize ko dun na sa ano, na mukhang kailangan ko na nga ata talagang alagaan yung katawan ko. So, sabi ko maybe this year, 'di ba, ano, try kong i-regain yung health ko lalo na sa stamina ko since talaga kasi ano, yung recovery period ko kasi no'n after nung makalabas ako ng hospital is 3 months daw, eh. So, sabi ko yun ibalik ko yun then mas healthy living try ko. Although mahirap yun, kasi for the longest time, for N years na, nung sinasabi ko gusto ko ng ano, ng healthy living, ang hirap, eh. Kasi 'di ba, kung sarap naman kasi ng ulam niyo 'di ba, makakapag-healthy living ka pa niyan.
Tama.
So,
Yeah,
Tama.
true, true.
'di
Tama.
ba? So,
Yeah.
ayun, pero susubukan ko kasi nga talagang do'n sa ano, nung na-ospital ako parang do'n ka magkakaroon ng ano, realization talaga, eh. So, yeah, sana magawa ko 'yun.
Yeah. And I hope everyone is careful no sa COVID kasi it's been what when was it? During the New Year's, right? There's a surge of flu. Na parang everyone was like tired, everyone was like sick at those times nung ano. Kaya I hope everyone right now is okay. I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope na nagsistay kayo at home. I don't know if you need to watch the movies that are in the cinemas right now, pero please stay at home and just play League of Legends kasi I think that would be better. kasi very, very scary talaga yung COVID. Like what happened to GM Laquatus and I hope you're okay na rin. You're okay na rin, GM
Partida pa 'yun,
Laquatus.
hindi pa ako masyado naglalalabas no'n.
Oh,
Yep,
yes.
'Yun yung mas
Oh, no.
nakakalungkot kasi do'n,
sobrang
eh. Kaya
unfortunate.
kaya kumbaga ito yung isipin natin do'n, eh, yung parang 'di na nga ako masyadong naglalalabas, nagkasakit pa ako, what more kung
What more?
lumalabas
Kung
pa ako,
lumabas
'di
Yeah,
pa,
ba?
no?
exactly.
Oh, no?
'Yun yung mas nakakatakot kaya ingat-ingat talaga tayo,
Yeah,
lahat tayo.
I agree.
Yes. Stay healthy, everyone. Stay healthy. And yun na nga. Yun na nga. Do you have any more questions to GM Laquatus Midnight before I
Uh,
head to the community questions?
no, I think that's good enough right now. We can head to the community questions.
Ooh. So yeah, let's go with the community questions. Ito yung mga tanong na yung when did I ask that? I think that was January 4 when I asked that. So
At
hanggang January 13 ata nag-collect kami
January
ng
5.
5. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah, close.
So yun. So yun, nag-collect kami ng mga questions na nakalagay dyan sa Ask Our Guest. Next time guys, if ever you want to ask questions, sasabihin naman lang, i-announce naman lagi namin kung sino yung magiging guest, what will be the
Or the
topic.
topic.
So, lagay nyo lang sa Ask Our Guest para mapili namin yung questions nyo. We just picked 3 from this na itatanong namin sa guest namin. So right now, let's go with the first one. So, this is the question na I think my question then. Do Garina's higher ups have a say or are their words taken seriously in Riot's planning and such? Example given, client design suggestions, rotating game modes, etc. It was asked by TSK, Tick, yung pangalan niya,
Hmm.
Sir Laquatus. Hmm.
Oo naman, lahat naman ng suggestions, lahat naman ng ano, ng mga suggestions at saka feedbacks naman, eh, talagang kino-collect din namin talaga 'yan. Kahit sabihin mo kahit hindi siya nakalagay sa official na channel natin na for suggestions or ano. Minsan kahit nga makita ko lang na random na nakalagay lang sa general or sa off topic na channels, eh, basta mayroon kinalaman sa League of Legends, binabasa
Mhm.
ko yun ta's kapag sa tingin ko, "Oo nga 'no, magandang idea yan, or oo nga 'no, bakit hindi nga ba?" Talagang ano yun, tini-take note ko yun, then
Mhm.
kakusapin ko yung mga ano, yung higher sa akin. Then idi-discuss ko sa kanya kung ano yung puwede naming gawin, kung ano pa puwedeng gawin dito. Then, although siyempre at the end si Riot pa rin naman ang magde-decide kung mag-a-agree sila dun or
Yeah.
gagawin nila yun. So, pero yeah, lahat naman ng suggestions, lahat ng feedbacks, lahat naman ng mga anything na nababasa ko talagang tine-take note ko 'yan. Basta worthwhile siya
Yeah.
at yung
Mhm.
doable naman, 'di ba? So, halimbawa kung gusto natin na magkaroon ng Victorious Diana in any events, gusto ko rin 'yun, eh, pero hindi.
Yeah,
Kung pwede lang eh.
puwede lang, eh.
Ayun.
Yan.
So, next question?
Yeah, let's go with the next question. So, eto, this is kahit kay Midnight, this could be a question. Hardest experience you encountered as kay Sir Laquatus is the community manager of LoL PH Discord. What was your hardest experience? Or at least, yeah, just give one. Just give one.
Ano, dito ba sa Discord or sa entire
Mm,
na nag-ano kami
I think
sa league?
I think dito
I
sa
think
Discord,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
Sa
yeah,
Discord
yeah.
lang. Kasi kung extended dun before the Discord, oh no.
Oh no.
Sige, ikaw muna Midnight.
Oh, wait, how would I answer this in your frame, Dash?
So as an esports lead. So kunyari, for example sa EDS,
The
ganun,
tournaments.
yeah, sa tournaments, yeah.
Um, I guess I mean there's a lot of challenging experience that we've encountered, I guess, for events, but mainly it's just dealing with the some. I mean, I hope not none of you guys take offense with this, but I'm just stating the reality. It's just that some people just don't read enough. Kasi we do take every opportunity to explain everything to our announcements and through our rules, but di mawawala talaga lagi, like especially on like a round one of a tournament na there's this guy complaining or this guy having inquiries or appeals regarding this, even though it's clearly stated behind the rules, and it can be a bit frustrating sometimes when they try to insist, even though mali na sila, right? Like I don't. It's difficult, pero um, I can't say that uh, it's necessarily. I can't say it was necessarily challenging. I think
Mm-hmm.
may prior experience na kasi ako handling tournaments, eh. It's just this one's a much bigger field. So, okay naman yun. But I guess that's one of the hardest ones. I guess I remember before when there was this huge communication issue for the Elder Dragon Series Championship, where there was like a scheduling overlap between the teams. Like they joined a different tournament um, that overlapped with the schedule of the championship. So for a while, there was like a team that was complaining to us about how we're handling the situation, but it was mainly the other team's lack of communication towards us na parang hindi tuloy na-inform yung that one team na nagko-complain, and so they're kind of lost. But generally, um, ako kasi when I have the say, because usually if it becomes tricky, I ask naman sila Laquatus like what to do, because I don't know, it's not always obvious, right? Um, and for that note, I think what I did is because may overlap, just said to them na I mean for as long as we could complete yung games niyo for this weekend, I think it's possible. Kayo na bahala mag-set ng time. As long as both teams agree, I think it's okay. It's better than not having a tournament.
Right.
So that was pretty hard because I think it was. I mean, obviously, it's a championship, right? You don't want something of that level to be either like um canceled, or you don't want any disqualifications. As much as possible, you want the championship to push through because well, it's the pinnacle of everything.
Right.
Every team that tried to qualify, ito yung end goal for now.
Yeah.
So, ayun, I guess that was the hardest one.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that was honestly very frustrating if ganun. Kasi, I think, dahil nga, especially the championship yun, right? Yung time na sinasabi mo, yung sa,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be real hard talaga kasi we really need to push that through. But again, same question, Sir Laquatus.
Hmm. Ano nga ba? Marami eh. Pero sige, yung
Yeah.
pinakamahirap. Kasi well, yung
Yeah.
pag ano na nga lang, yung pag setup na nga lang nito alone eh. Nahirapan ako kasi nga, initially ako lang talaga yung ano eh, yung nakaisip eh. Yun yung,
Yeah.
sabi ko paano ko gagawin to? Para ang, ang daming kailangan ilagay. Siyempre, hindi naman pwedeng plain na parang text and voice chat alone lang to. So, ayun, doon. Pero, well, since marami naman may mga moderators naman na maalam. So, ayan. Kaya na-push through naman. Then, sa ano, sa mismong, ano, sa Discord, kapag nagkakaroon ng problema yung client or yung game,
mm.
na minsan ano yung biglaan, although hindi ko na nga actually matandaan kung kailan yung nagkaroon ng parang critical na issue na parang nagulatan ako kasi minsan kasi hindi naman sa ano, parang minsan nagdududa ako kung talagang issue na ba siya o baka mamaya sa ano ko lang yun, sa internet ko lang yun, baka sa PC ko lang yun. Kasi madalas
Yeah.
nangyayari yung gano'n, eh, hindi mo na malalaman kung ano't ano, eh, kung alin alin talaga do'n sa dalawa, eh. So, kapag kaya tuloy binabase ko na lang siya kung kapag may nakita ko maraming nagpo-post or maraming nagsasabi na dito sa Discord and sa ano natin, sa group, sa Facebook group natin
Mhm.
or kahit sa comment section ng ano natin, official page natin. Kapag may nakita akong mga ano, similar na reklamo, dun ko na nako-confirm minsan na talagang may problema. Then ayun, ang problema din kasi minsan kapag nangyayari yung issue ng around 11 PM or minsan madaling araw, so kailangan mo pang
Oh,
bulabugin yung
no.
ano, eh, yung in charge dun, eh. Kasi alam niyo naman kapag sa work 'di ba, may mga departments 'yan, may mga kanya-kanyang mga roles 'yan. Unfortunately, hindi ako hindi ko hawak kasi yung dun sa technical side, eh. So, iko-contact ko pa yung technical so sabi ko, "Sana gising pa or andiya-diyan pa." 'Di ba?
Mhm.
Yun, yung mga gano'n, ang hirap nun. Nagpa-panic ako kapag may mga gano'n, eh.
Yeah, kung kaya mo lang ayusin,
Oh, bakit
probably,
hindi?
Mhm.
Bakit hindi? 'Di ba?
yeah.
Yeah. Lalo na 'pag madaling araw 'no, kasi especially na League of Legends is 24 hours 'di ba, na naka-up siya.
Oo.
So, may time na biglang, oh no, may time na
Yun yung masama kasi ano,
yeah.
eh, still ano, eh, bound pa rin naman yung mga tao sa office hours, eh. Well, 'di ba,
Mhm.
may mga buhay din naman. So, ako lang
Yeah.
ata yung wala, eh, 'di joke lang. So, pero kasi naka-monitor ako palagi, eh, pero yun nga, hindi ko rin kaya din gawin lahat, eh. Kaya
Depende lang
kung may
talaga.
mga issues na nangyari na beyond office hours, sorry kung made-delay siya ng konti, pero nakikita ko 'yan.
Yeah, and I hope, everyone is patient every time that happens na yung mga times na gano'n na the client fails or something or may issues or whatever. And yun, and that maybe may last question pa tayo. This could be the last question. So after pandemic to for sure. Any plans on having an online or
Oh,
rather
it's
an on-site
online.
gathering of sorts similar to Rampage? On-site yata dapat tong question eh kasi similar to Rampage. So
Mm.
on-site,
Like yung Rampage
Hindi,
and
I
ano,
think to
online talaga siya.
clarify, ang gusto niyang
Mhm.
sabihin dito is like a Rampage level event pero online? It could be like
How
that. Kasi
so
I think
hmm,
I think the
okay,
question
sure.
acknowledges na pandemic yung situation. So, yeah.
Okay, sure. So
mm,
let's go with that na online gathering. Something like this. Yeah, something like this.
Something like this, but iba yung
Uh,
hinahanap niyang
mm.
um,
okay.
So
kind of
pagdating sa gano'n kasi, babalik na naman ulit tayo dun sa initial na issue natin, eh, is
Resources.
manpower and resources.
Yeah.
Yun yung pinaka magiging hadlang natin. Kasi 'di ba sabi ko nga, kung kaya naman, kung ano naman 'di ba, doable naman, bakit hindi?
yeah, but di
Pero
naman.
yun nga, eh, kailangan pa rin naman, eh, kailangan talaga ng resources diyan, eh. Hindi siya puwede-puwede yung basta-basta na yung katulad ng pinaplano kong stream lang yung spectator ano lang nila. Hindi siya puwedeng gano'n, eh. Siyempre 'di ba, kahit naman sino sa atin gusto ng quality na makikita natin na events, 'di ba? Gusto natin yung maganda, gusto
Mhm.
natin yung worthwhile talaga ng ano natin, ng time natin, eh. Pero yun nga, pero siyempre hindi naman namin sinasayang kasi yung iba kasi 'di ba nagagawa naman nila. So tingnan natin kung ano yung puwede nating gawin. Then pagdating naman kasi sa kung sakaling wala ng pandemic at sana nga wala na ngang pandemic, dun naman sa mga on-site naman, possible pa rin naman yun, possible pa rin. Although ngayon kasi, parang pinaplano namin din kung sakaling gawin nga yun is
Mhm.
to level things up. Para naman 'di ba, mas sulit naman yung pagpunta dun sa mga on-site events.
Mhm.
Kasi 'di ba magkano rin naman ang mga tickets 'di ba? So,
Yeah.
yun
Right.
yung ano, eh, kino-consider din namin actually sa future, eh. Pero yan nga, sana nga muna dapat mawala muna pandemic para mas madaling kumilos talaga.
Yeah, and again, we're starting na naman with another pandemic, so might be a
Mhm.
long time, might be a long time
Yep.
before mangyari uli 'yan. Pero yun nga, I think that was our last question on Midnight kay GM Laquatus. So,
Yep.
yeah, that might wrap up the yung ano. Thank you very much. Thank you very much GM Laquatus for being here on stage, and we really appreciate yung answers to our questions, especially our community right now na even nandito, and the bring light rin yung history ng Riftwalk. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you din
Yeah.
Dash sa pag-ano din, pag-host
Yes.
din itong Riftwalk, yung pinakaunang podcast natin for 2022 at I hope na
Yes.
hindi rin 'to ang huli.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, hindi, hindi.
Hopefully.
Hindi
Hopefully.
naman.
Dito ang
Hopefully.
huli, dito ang huli.
Yes. Yes. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, Midnight, let's head siguro dun sa ano natin sa susunod na nating part ng podcast natin. Sorry guys kasi it's also my first time hosting a podcast, so that's why I'm kind of confused on how it goes. Pero yeah, we're smooth sailing right now. So let's take a look on what happened during our last Elder Dragon Championship. So this will be a part every time, everyone. So we're always gonna be running down patches. We're always gonna be having a rundown rin nung past tournament na nangyari. Like yung Elder Dragon Championship, yung pinaka-recent natin nung December.
Right.
So let's go with that, no Midnight. So yeah, you go and start.
Yeah. So basically, just to start things over, the championship. Um, we do know that the winners were West Point Esports. This
Yeah,
was a tournament played on patch 11.24, if I'm not mistaken. And to me, my take on the patch itself, there's not a whole lot of changes that were done. Obviously, there are some uh, small changes that might be, it might incentivize people to play those champions more, like the Camille, or the Caitlyn. The Caitlyn buff when they
yeah,
reverted back the headshot resets. Definitely all
right.
the Caitlyn mains love that.
Yeah,
But as a holistic change that, shakes up the meta, not entirely. It's been pretty quiet. Riot's been making a lot of these like smaller patches because
they need
primarily
to adjust stuff. Yeah,
they just didn't want to like make a dramatic change right away. Unlike this was different from different like previous seasons where usually by the end of like preseason dun lalabas yung
hmm,
mga malalaking changes like the Juggernaut updates or
yeah,
whatever it was back then, like the Marksman. I think Marksman had an updates. I think or Mages. I
yeah,
wasn't sure, but yeah, I think
yeah.
the biggest addition, sort of in this patch was like the new dragons. How do you like the new dragons, Dash?
Yung new dragons. I'm kind of surprised dun sa new dragons natin kasi the Chemtech Drake and the Hextech Drake. Um, honestly for me, the Chemtech Drake, yung effect ng Chemtech Drake is sort of a something that you don't really need most of the time for me. Yung effect ng Chemtech Drake is 6% HP, ng current HP, right? That is what the Chemtech Drake does. But if you're the one who has a lot of HP, the Chemtech Drake buff basically just takes off. Like, nawawala siya dahil dun sa fact na you don't really deal the damage that the Chemtech Drake helps you with, right?
Yeah,
That is the problem that I think is with the Chemtech Drake. But with the Hextech Drake, I like how the Hextech Drake works. It's kind of an OP Drake just because it gives you attack speed, it gives you ability haste. It's like the best of both worlds that you need for everyone. So
yeah.
I think that's good. But the Chemtech Drake, I'm not really sure. Even with the map changes with the Chemtech Drake, I don't like the camouflage.
Oh,
I don't like it. The Hextech Drake, it's okay because I like the way that the players change their playstyle because of the Hextech gates. But the Chemtech Drake, you can take that. I can live without that. I can live without that. How about you? How about you?
I think I don't know. I think I'm speaking for the minority here. I don't know, kasi I've heard a lot of people complain about the new dragons. Maybe it's because people find it hard to accept that changes are happening, and
Right. Yeah.
essentially, for me, I really like the changes. To me, when I saw that there's like five champions that could be hiding inside of your jungle, you just don't know it. You can't see it with
Right.
normal wards. I think
Right.
that's pretty exciting. It adds a different layer of strategy involved because it's basically as if like you're using fog of war.
Yeah.
You just can't ward it out completely. You can use your control ward still to sort of navigate a bit,
Yeah.
but essentially it's making vision a lot more important. Maybe instead teams should focus around warding around the terrain so that you don't have to see what's in there. You could see like, oh, there's like three people that entered our jungle. Well, I don't have to know who's in the fog
Mm-hmm.
or who's in the mist or whatever you call it. There
Yeah.
there's someone waiting for me to face check that and kill me.
Yeah.
But I think what's the only bad thing about the new Drakes, in my opinion, was like you said, the Hextech Drake, as far as gates are concerned, and
Mm-hmm.
how literally the gates are open,
Yeah.
for like flanks and other fast travel opportunities, the Chemtech Drake definitely failed on a specific margin. Because I think, um, because I'm also taking up like game development. I'm an aspiring game designer, so I take interest in system changes such as this one, and the thing about what Riot is doing that I'm not particularly sure uh why it got through was the Rengar mains are so sad.
You're
Like if
right.
there are any Rengar mains in the audience right now, you know what I'm talking about. You're
Yeah.
you are just so depressed every time you get Chemtech terrain. It's like your champion loses a passive. You have to like ult or something. It's crazy. Kasi for me, like as a game designer, you always want to be like a holistic sort of person. You have to view the game from everything. You have to look from A to Z and see how it affects everything. It's hard, right, with the ever
Yeah.
expanding roster for League, but I mean it's the calculated risk that you have to take. You can't just go in there
Yeah.
like because to me what's unacceptable is that Rengar is almost completely unplayable. Yes, they did announce that they're gonna update the Chemtech Drake or how Rengar interacts with the Chemtech Drake, but
Mm-hmm.
to even launch with this version was a surprise, I guess, to many,
Ooh,
including me.
yeah, during that time, it was honestly really hard to have the Chemtech rig. Even the passive, or rather the soul of Chemtech
So
Soul was really surprising for me. Like this, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's basically a free GA after getting after the fight. You're just gonna die anyway, so you're just gonna be throwing out all your punches after you revive from the Chemtech Drake. I mean, that even is really surprising for me too. I'm not really sure on why League of Legends put it in. But okay, I think I'm liking the fact that they're trying to change things up. They're trying to make things fresh. But this one, Chemtech Drake, yeah, I'm not really sure about this one, right? Because I like it. I like it in a way that it changes things, but not in a way that I'll play it. I mean, after I see a Chemtech Drake, I want to quit the game just because just because it's a Chemtech Soul again. But I mean, yeah, that I'm not sure if it's healthy for the game. What do you think about that, Midnight?
I think it's okay. I think um and people can feel free to disagree. I think all the opinions here are valid in
Yeah,
any
right.
volume. I just think that what the Chemtech Drake is designed to be as sole component is it it highlights a specific part of team fighting as a skill, which is target selection and adjusting your pace and how you fight, which
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit more on like the elite levels. Like if you're around mid or high diamond, up all the way up to like the pro leagues, this is a skill that you is pretty much mandatory. And by allowing this sort of like skill to be trained from every rank, I think it would drastically improve like players team fighting naturally without even them knowing it. That's I think the
Right.
beauty of the design of this Drake. Um, and so I know I like it. I really like that. There's a lot of freshness to the game because it's an esports title. Like it
Yeah.
can't be
Static.
well,
Right.
it can't be
Mm-hmm.
static, right? Although there are a bunch of esports titles out there that haven't changed for a while, or in general, a bunch of games sometimes they don't do regular patches. They just do like I don't know, at minimum like maybe a patch or so a year. But for League that's constantly changing
Mm-hmm.
and like having these sort of updates, I feel like it's really fun to sort of sustain the the players to keep them playing the game like continuously, which is I think
Yeah.
the goal, right? You don't want as a
Yeah.
game designer, you don't want your game to just randomly die because well, you just didn't do enough changes.
Yeah. You don't have anything. Like, yeah, that is really what an esports title does. But again, with the Chemtech, I mean, after the Chemtech Drake thing that we're talking about, it was really great. It was really fresh. But looking at this now, looking at how Lethal Tempo changed almost a lot of the champions also on this game. It's a good thing that during the 11.24, it was a bit nerf for melee champions, which is really nice. But I think it's not enough for me during that time. The lethal tempo, the glacial augment was okay, but the lethal tempo is something that we also need to talk about because lethal tempo has been a menace to deal with, especially with the bruisers that use it a lot. Like Yasuo and Yone in solo queue has been dominating a lot of matchups just because they can, just because of the cooldowns that they get because of the lethal tempo. And I'm not really sure on how they're gonna change this anymore because right now it's in the game. It's hard to deal with. Even even I think right now it's even still hard to deal with. So what do you think about the lethal tempo one
Uh,
midnight?
as of 11.24, they I like the nerf that they did. They didn't just completely gut the rune to being useless, like it
Yeah,
was before it was reworked. At least now there's a niche
it's
that
usable. Yeah.
you could run lethal tempo if you want to, and if it really synergizes with your champion and how you play it. Uh, but with the new numbers, it's not necessarily supposed to be like a 100% go-to pick unless you don't have any options. And it's to me at least it avoids the Yone abuse that was
Oh right.
happening prior to this patch.
Yeah.
Uh, to some degree, there are still some people complaining about it, but I guess it's just people complaining about Yone rather than Lethal Tempo. I think that's what people are missing at this point. Like
Yeah.
the thing is, Lethal Tempo sort of gave light to people. Oh wow, this is a really good rune for Yone. I should start playing Yone. So
Right.
naturally, as more people run into Yone, they get frustrated, and as they see the patch notes, you want to blame like, oh, it's because they buff Lethal Tempo. That's why I hate Yone and Lethal Tempo abuser, blah blah blah. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it's just because Yone is really good at punishing a lot of a lot of mistakes in the laning phase.
Right.
Like that's the whole sort of gimmick with the kit. It's not
Mm-hmm.
great, right? It's
Yeah.
not like it's gonna dominate you in lane 100%. But if you do make a mistake, that's when Yone tries to E on you and try to chip away your HP or stuff like that and prepare you for an all in. So um, I think I think the state of it as of 11.24 is pretty balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, I just like it because there's some diversity now. When you look at the precision tree, you can go conquer, lethal tempo, resty attack, fleet footwork, and they all have their own niche. Which that's the entire design of the rune system anyway.
Yeah. And I like that because a lot of these champions are meta. During this time also, Poppy just came into play. Just because everyone who's in meta right now has a lot of dashes. And that's why Poppy really thrives in those champions that are really going for it. Every time that they try to go in, they really get bumped out by a Poppy, which is what I really like. But again, with that said, let's talk about how man, this items. The items on this game, I think the most broken one right now, it's a good thing that they nerfed it. Crown of the Shattered Queen, when it came in, was so OP, was so good. It's like a very good addition. It's like a better version of Banshee's Veil and Edge of Night. And I liked it when it came out. It's a good thing that they nerfed it because I don't know if it will be healthy, but at least now it saved a lot of the ADCs in the bot lane. Kaisa and Ezreal came back in the meta just because of the addition of Crown of the Shattered Queen in game.
Um. Again, I think I don't know. Maybe I speak for the minority here, but I'm not too impressed with Crown of the Shattered Queen as a item.
Really?
I think the design of the item is actually flawed inherently
Mm-hmm.
because mainly when this item exists in the space of League of Legends, it's either one, if you give like a 75% damage reduction to a champion, then their intended design, Riot stated that they made this so that mages who want to survive laning phase
Right.
could
Yeah.
could scale up in a much more accessible way. They don't just get bullied by assassins. Sure, I get that. But you realize by also doing this is that mages who want to dive in
Can also
eh,
use it,
could
right?
also use it. And in
Right.
fact, it's way more attractive for those people because they have the agency. What do I mean by that? Like
Mm-hmm.
you have the option, right, to have your Crown of the Shattered Queen passive to be up, and then you start engaging, meaning they're forced to deal with you, so you all instantly get value off of your passive.
Right.
Whereas if you're a range champion, they could poke you with I don't know, like a ZQ, and then later on, they're gonna all in you anyway. They're gonna start with a
Mm-hmm.
death mark, and you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Right? It's to me that idea in itself that making sort of these like melee bruiser ish type mages just run in and take zero damage is incredibly uh like I don't know what's the right word for it, but definitely shouldn't exist in League, in my opinion. While
Right.
to some champions, Crown was added more like oh, my champion doesn't have any mythic.
Yeah.
Finally, Crown is a good one, right? My
Mm-hmm.
and when I'm stating this, I'm stating, for example, like Victor.
Right.
Victor didn't really have a good mythic prior to Crown of the Shattered Queen. Now, other than that, it's so hard to balance this item
Right.
from a design perspective. If you buff it too much, it's gonna get used by those melees that I talked about, and all
Right.
of a sudden, it's so hard to deal with. And if you don't get the right numbers, let's say it's a bit too weak, then no one
Mm-hmm.
will use it because people would just rather use Leandries or Ludens.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel iffy about this item. I'm not too impressed by it. I feel like it feels a niche role right now. That's my opinion on it. Like if you're up against a lot of bursty targets that can't just go through your shield without expending a lot of damage on it,
Mm-hmm.
then it's fine. But I don't think it's one of those items that you just buy every game.
Yeah. Should have been a situational item, right? That could
Right.
have been it. But
Should have
it,
been a
because
it,
yeah.
it should have been a legendary item instead of a mythic.
Right, right, right. It could have been because honestly, it's a really good safe option for everybody. But because they made it a mythic, they don't have a lot more choices because it doesn't really give anything except for the shield, right?
Yeah.
Nothing else.
The
So
damage is also significantly worse compared to like Ludens or Leandries.
right, right.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's cheaper, but they could have made it a legendary. That could have been better. But because of that, at least some of this champions that I mean, the assassins have been dominating the mid lane since on solo queue, especially since a while ago. And I think this is at least a good one to at least save this, especially Victor or the mages that don't have a lot of movement, which is good. But yeah, as you said, on a design standpoint, it doesn't really work well. But
Yeah.
again, I think that has been it for all our thoughts during this patch. And also, I would like to point out this is the patch also that Kale has been coming into play a lot just because of lethal tempo. But yeah, let's not delve deep a lot to Kale because solo queue is on Kale is only mostly used on solo queue. But also, this is the time when Axiom R came in, right? So it's a
Yeah.
good thing during this patch they nerfed it a bit, 5%, but I think it wasn't enough to actually got the item because Zed and Kiana during that time also has a lot of CDR. So it doesn't really matter on 20% or 25% during that time because it's just 5 seconds less for this champion. So this Axiom arc is really a good addition for those assassins that gets a lot of kills. But you know, assassins are very volatile, so yeah, this is fair. This item is really fair for me.
Yeah. So now we can now because we've talked about 11.24 and since we're running down what happened in the past, we going back to the Elder Dragon Championship, we do see how West Point Esports managed to use their knowledge of the patch to sort of their
Yeah,
advantage. And
right.
yeah, we see that because specifically, I guess, in game number, was it 2? I think it
What?
was game number 2 when they run the Aphelios back as for the bot lane, which
Mm-hmm.
I mean it Aphelios has a bunch of runes that are viable. You could even run Conqueror with it. But Lethal
Yeah.
Tempo gave sort of Aphelios an extra access for the range specifically,
Right.
and as well as obviously getting that constant damage in to get that 200 years moment that everyone wants.
Right.
So that's one of the strategies that they used during the games or during the series. They did run the Draven during game one, but I guess Draven, when he's ahead, it doesn't really matter what the rune choice is. It kind of
Right.
just speaks for its own.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, any other notable game that happened during the series?
Game three, right? That was the most notable game right there for
Oh yeah.
for West Point.
So
Yeah.
for anyone who didn't watch, um, what what happened during the championship finals was in game three. Ataraxia Blue, sort of built this team fighting composition with Victor, Vayne, uh, frontline, and then an enchanter at the back end as well to help. And West Point Esports decides to draft three melee champions into that composition, being
Right.
Renekton, Mordekaiser, and Yone in the bot lane.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I could talk about this for hours as to why it's so atrocious of a draft.
Yeah.
Um, but simply simply put it into few words, just melee bot lanes aren't much of a thing right now. It's a solo queue thing, and I get it, right? Maybe sometimes if you're up in the series, like if you're up
Yeah.
2-0 and you just wanna, I don't know, extend your time and entertain the audience, and maybe pulling out the Yone bot could be a little bit interesting. But for people like me who are more satisfied with like the quality of play rather than the memes,
Yeah.
um, it hurts. It hurts my eyes seeing the Yone bot. It came to the point where they were ahead for a moment, like for a brief moment they were ahead, but because they didn't have any range characters to deal with, like taking down towers, taking down objectives safely because of the range,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Ataraxia eventually scaled. Who knew that when you can't pressure the team fighting comp, they would be able to scale and beat you in later team fights because you don't have a reliable ranged damage carry.
Yeah.
Wow, what a concept. Um,
Right.
but yeah, that was pretty much the meme of the series. But later on game four, obviously West Point Esports thought they had enough to enough fun, right? They
Yeah.
they brought out the Zed Yumi combo on game four, and you know what they say, right? The common quote they say: "A fed Zed is an enemy team dead."
Yeah.
So that game didn't take a while. That was quite an explosion of a game. They tried running back the Vayne, Lulu, and bot lane, hoping that they would get the scaling because um, we highlighted this in the broadcast, right? The
Mm-hmm.
Dinosaurus, whatever his name was. I'm sorry, I maybe butchered the pronunciation a bit
Yeah.
there, but Dinosaurus kind of popped up, popped off um, in game three. So they were kind of hoping that, oh, game four we run it back. Hopefully it works. Um, Narrator would say that, well, it didn't work.
Right.
It just didn't.
Yeah, and also
So
during that
yeah,
drafting for game four, I think it was because they lost an access to a lot of CC during that time, and that's also the reason why they lost against West Point during that drafting because they weren't expecting the Vladimir to come out. Also, that loneliness during that time was so strong, even as strong as Zed during that game, and he even 1v2v1 or 3v1 a lot of these people, even Dinosaurus during that time, just because he can, just because he's a Vladimir who was really fed even on the earlier parts of the game,
yeah,
and that's why it was easier there on for West Point Esports. It's just that during those games, is West Point Esports really likes to play the mind games during the draft. That is really what I love about West Point Esports is because when they draft, they think about it, or rather, they think about what the enemy team would think when that happens, and they switch it up every time, and that's what I like about West Point.
Yeah, obviously they have some very talented players. A lot of them, or sorry, all of them are
Top 15.
basically in the
Yeah.
upper, yeah, top 15 challenger, which is really scary. If you've been into high elo before, you've probably met these guys, and you probably wish you didn't, to some degree, if you really
Right.
wanted to grind those LP games. Um, but then again, yeah, the Vladimir that game against the little to no CC, or at least like the CC that they had was a bit more predictable,
Mhm.
right? For example, Irelia's E could easily be dodged if you can see it coming, and he was up against the Graves as well, which is a known like favorable matchup. Graves can sustain against Vladimir, but when you start getting doved by the jungler and the mid laner, yeah, you can't do much. There's
Yep.
really nothing stopping from Vladimir diving you once he gets enough items, enough levels, and that's basically what happened in the game. They just sort of snowballed Vladimir insanely well. Zed's gonna pick off anyone who tries to come even, just a little bit outside their the range or the safety of their towers. And yeah, it was a sad game for Ataraxia Esports. But I think, to be fair, it they came to the championship with their best form. I think
Yep.
that's I think they tried. It's just that the skill gap clearly showed, and how why West Point Esports. I mean, they were the defending champion going into this finals, so it
Yeah.
wasn't a surprise that they just defended it right then and there and showed them that, hey guys, it wasn't a one-off. We were actually really that good,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah, I think West Point Esports are on the way to making a, what do you call that? A dynasty in the Elder
Yeah,
Dragon Championships, because they have been the champions for 2 times. So that's a really really big statement for West Point Esports, and maybe coming this year they would join again and make it to the third, the three-peat for West Point Esports. They're a
right.
really good team, honestly. West Point has been, since the time that they showed, they have been performing really well, and I'm so surprised that they're still this strong. They're always at their top form whenever they come in, and I'm seeing a lot of players that I'm familiar with from the collegiate scene when they started, and right now they're still that strong, and I'm really really surprised that it's still, their skills are still there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, especially when young talent is cultivated very early on, and you've been, putting your effort into grinding your games, as a young player,
Mm-hmm.
definitely you will get to this point where you're just insanely good at the game, and not a lot of people can reach that. By all means, that, like, I'm not saying that if you're a young player, you have a chance to go pro right away. These guys took a lot of steps, uh, to get there. Probably burned a lot of their time, sacrificed a few things here and there, and it's difficult. So, like, you know what they say. I remember a quote from, I believe it was an esports. Oh, no, it was a coaching book that I've had before. It
Mm-hmm.
was, or I've read before. I think it was an ebook.
Yeah.
Uh, I think they said there that being a winner is one thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
quite frankly, anyone could be a winner. But being a champion, meaning you've won consecutively, you've shown to the world, or in this case, to the LoL PH community, that we're undisputedly the best players or the best team.
Mm-hmm.
That is extremely, like, it's a tough task to for anyone. So definitely big feat for, a big achievement for West Point Esports to even repeating another
Yeah.
championship win.
Yeah. And I hope we can get some of them as our guests on this next podcast that we're gonna have, right? So we can at least tickle their minds on what they're thinking during the
Right.
games on the next one. So I'm really excited on how it's gonna go. Let's see if we can get them as guests, or rather, at least one of them as guests for our podcast during the next time. But again, West Point Esports have been. This is what I'm thinking about. Remember the
Right.
Elder Dragon champion during the first, what do you call that? the first 4 months, right? The
The
first four
first
months.
like split, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Their name was Divergent, right? That team.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Divergent.
I'm looking at the world, like the multiverses. Like, what if there was a time in where they would meet each other, West Point Esports and Divergent? Because that during the time that Divergent was the strongest team for Elder Dragon Championship, we thought that no one could top them, right? During that
Exactly.
time, yeah. But then during the second month, or rather the second 4 months, West Point Esports came in and Divergent disappeared, right? So
Yeah.
that's why until now I'm kind of thinking, who do you think will win if ever Divergent and West Point Esports would meet each other on the Elder Dragon series?
It's obviously difficult to tell without seeing it like come close. Like if we've seen Divergent in recent tournaments, then maybe we could have an idea. But because
Yeah.
it's been so long, it's been March since we last saw them,
Yeah.
which is about 10 months ago. Anything could have changed with their skill levels right now. Because the thing about esports and League of Legends is that uh, time is faster. Like normally in traditional sports, if you put like a soccer player and say that he is good, he's gonna be good for like a year. It's for as long as he's still training and keeping up. But
Right.
here, even if you keep up in league, maybe in 2 months, so many things have changed,
Yeah.
and a lot of the players got better. All of a sudden, you're not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
That's the scary part about like being good about this game, because it's so hard to maintain that sort of status unless you're
Yeah.
actually really talented. So
Especially yeah, especially in traditional sports they don't have patches, right?
patches, correct?
That's why it's really hard to stay relevant in esports.
Yeah. I mean, but as of right now, I mean, it looks like West Point Esports, uh, they look extremely dominant, even more dominant than Divergent has shown to us before. So that would be my prediction if ever that would happen. But again, probably too unlikely at this point. It's been way too long since Divergent has came by. It's now only in our dreams.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I was still expecting that they at least would come back this year during the next Elder Dragon series, so at least we can see how they pair up with West Point Esports on their top form, right? So
surely
I
that would be
wish,
idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wish that would happen on the next days, but huh, I think that would be it, right? Right, right,
Yeah,
midnight for
that's quite a
yeah,
lot.
it's been what? We started at 4. In 1 hour 23 minutes. It's 5:23 p.m. everyone. Malapit na mag-dinner. So so I hope you guys are staying at home. And when would the next podcast be? Next 2 weeks, right? On the 28th.
Yeah, on the
The
28th, we're gonna have another podcast.
Yeah, the next podcast would be on the 28th. Everyone, look forward to it because we're gonna be talking about also the next patch that's gonna come in. Dahil may next patch na tayo before the next Elder Dragon series comes in on the 29th and the 30th. So, excited kami sa susunod na podcast natin. And let's see kung sino yung magiging guest natin. I-announce rin namin dyan sa Ask Our Guest what our topic would be and who our guest would be para meron kayo maihanda mga questions or mga community questions na ipipick namin from you guys by then.
Right.
So guys, ayun, Midnight, any last messages before we close it off?
Yes, make sure to keep your tabs open for our future events. Again, we've briefly touched on it. We're gonna bring some casual action into the Rift soon. So stay tuned for that. And we're always going to announce the sort of calendars for our monthly events. So make sure to take note of that. Save the dates if you really want to join our events. And yeah, follow the LOL page Summoners Hub for you to watch our live streams. We stream mainly our finals or the big events there. And yeah, I think in general, I'll see you guys on the next Riftwalk episode.
Yeah, see you guys on the next Ref Walk episode. We have been your hosts for today. I'm Dash and I was here with Midnight and everyone. Excited to see you guys again next week. See you guys and we'll be back next week for more Ref Walk. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.